Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This story is titled My Sick Story. Hi, I'm Fahma. I want to tell you about my childhood story. Indeed, this story isn't quite a pleasant one. However, from this story, I learned that both of my parents truly love me. When I was a baby, I was chubby and healthy. I had fair, bright skin and healthy eyes like lemon seeds. Wherever I went, many people called me cutie, without saying mashallah tabarakallah. Perhaps that's where the evil eye began, without us realizing it. When I was 5.5 months old, despite being initially healthy, I suddenly had a seizure after a morning walk with my dad. Then I was taken to the hospital for a checkup with a normal healthy diagnosis. Several weeks later, my head often felt hot even though I was healthy. After that, I felt sick and started vomiting. Then my parents took me to RSIA Hermina, West Bekasi. After being examined by a pediatrician named Dr. Wirastari SP.A, she suggested that if there was no improvement within an hour after taking the medication, I should be brought back to the hospital for treatment. After returning from the hospital, there was no improvement, so they had to take me back to the hospital for treatment in a worrying condition. When we arrived at the hospital, I was quickly treated, given intravenous fluids, x-rays, and blood tests. After that, I was taken to the ward. Seeing my very worrying condition, I was treated by 3 pediatricians, a pediatric specialist, a nutrition specialist, and a lung specialist. During treatment, I ate through a tube inserted through my nose directly into my stomach. The food was only special milk and special food supplements injected into the tube. And there must be no air entering. I was diagnosed with pneumonia or tuberculosis in children. After a week of treatment, I was allowed to go home on the condition that I still used the tube, and my parents agreed, albeit reluctantly. After a few days at home, during a feeding, there were air bubbles, and my little hand accidentally pulled out the tube because I couldn't stand it anymore. Then my mother took me to the hospital to remove the tube, saying I was ready to eat because the function of the tube was for food entering my body. Finally, it was allowed by the doctor. The doctors scheduled 2 weekly checkups at the hospital to monitor my progress. Not even a month passed, I was admitted again for 4 days due to diarrhea and vomiting. My condition was really worrying. Even my grandmother said to my mother, "Can Fahma survive, Ning?" They were very worried, hoping for my recovery. During my treatment, there was a master's scholarship program from the government. In the meantime, my father tried to join the program. Alhamdulillah, my father was accepted at Gajah Mada University, Yogyakarta. Then I moved to Yogyakarta and transferred my checkups to the referral hospital. Until I finished my treatment, it turns out behind all those trials, there is an extraordinary wisdom. Because Allah's promise is true. If we accept it sincerely, Allah will replace it with something better. Fun fact, if I met those who saw me when I was sick, they will definitely pat my arm and say, "Alhamdulillah, you've grown up. You were so small back then." They are grateful that I could still survive and recover. From here, I learned about the importance of being grateful for the blessings that Allah bestows, no matter how small they may be, especially the blessings of faith and health. These 2 blessings cannot be bought with money, and we must always believe in Allah's destiny, that in every difficulty there is certainly ease as long as we remain steadfast in faith and never cease to pray for help from Allah.